Good morning, everybody. My name is LKearns, and I will be doing a presentation on the role of leadership in integrating diversity, equity, and inclusion in the company PY200. Okay, so for our agenda today, we're going to be looking at leadership, timeline, our primary goals, our objectives, and at the end, our summary. So our primary goals for today are diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging, and how leadership plays a major role in these. And our project aim for today is the role of leaders during organisational change in the creation of a more diverse and inclusive workplace that promotes equity, fairness, and respect for all employees. This project plan outlines the steps necessary to achieve this goal. And our project scope will be implemented across all departments of the organisation and will involve all employees, from the top for the CEOs, the leaders, the management, all the way down to the workers. Okay, so leadership during organizational change. Leaders play a critical role in guiding an organization through change. So the key roles of a leader are to communicate the vision and goals of the change initiative to employees, to support their teams through this change, and to maintain productivity throughout the process, and to keep both management and employees on board. In our next slide, we will go through how this. Okay, so leadership during organizational change. We're going to use Kotter's 8-step change model to implement this. So number one is to create a sense of urgency. You have to inspire people to act with passion and purpose to achieve a bold, aspirational opportunity. You need to build momentum that excites people to pursue a compelling and clear vision of the future, but this also has to be together. It needs to be inclusive. You need to include people. So forming our powerful guiding coalitions, you need to identify the effective change leaders in your organization and also the key stakeholders. You need to request their involvement and commitment towards the entire process. You need to form a powerful change coalition that would be working as a team, to identify the weak areas in the coalition teams and to ensure that the team involves many influential people from various cross-functional departments working in different levels in the company. This is an opportunity to allow members of misrepresented groups to have a say and be included in the change process, which of course is integral if we're doing diversity and inclusive practices. And for step 3 is developing a vision and a strategy. So you need to determine the core values, which for us is inclusion, equity, diversity, and belonging. You need to define the ultimate vision and strategy for realizing a change in an organization, which we've realized is that there's a diverse workforce and they're not integrating with everybody, or there's some divisions that are going on. Ensure that the change leaders that you have chosen can describe the vision effectively in a manner that people can easily understand and follow. And for this, you need to communicate the vision. So you need to communicate the change in the vision very often. You need to do it quite powerfully and convincingly. And you need to connect the vision with all the crucial aspects like performance reviews, trainings, everything like that. And you need to handle the concerns and issues of people honestly and with involvement. So you need to be quite upfront, you need to be quite empathetic to ensure their involvement, that you need to be quite open and honest in your opinion and in your leadership role. And step 5, removing obstacles. So you need to ensure that the organizational processes and structures are in place and in line with the overall organizational vision. Continuously check for the barriers or people who are resisting change. This might be quite difficult, but it kind of has to be done to push it further. You need to implement proactive actions to remove the obstacles involved in the process of change. And you need to reward people for endorsing change and supporting in the process. For step 6, it's creating short-term wins. So you need to do this by creating short-term wins early in the change process, so that people can give a feel of victory in the early stages of change. This helps to motivate them on a bit more and to allow them to progress and to continue doing what they're doing if they're feeling that sense of victory. So this is important to create short-term targets instead of one long-term goal, They need to be achievable and less expensive for your stakeholders and have lesser possibilities of failure to ensure that motivation of your employees. And of course, you need to reward the contributions of people who are involved in meeting the targets. And for step 7 is consolidating gains. Achieve continuous improvement by analysing the success stories individually and improving from those individual experiences. So these individuals feel important and that they are improving, they are contributing to these short-term wins. And so for the last step is step 8, so anchoring change in the corporate culture. So you need to discuss the success stories related to change initiatives on every given opportunity. Build and build on the success, build on the momentum, build and build on the motivation of your employees and anyone who's involved. So you need to ensure that the change becomes an integral part in your organizational culture and it's visible in every organizational aspect. So it's from the top down, it's everywhere. We need to ensure that the support of the existing company leaders as well as new leaders continue to extend their support towards the change. Okay, for our leadership goals is to increase the representation of underrepresented groups in the workplace, foster a workplace culture that values and respects diversity, increase employee engagement and retention, create a more inclusive hiring process, and ensure all employees feel safe and supported in the workplace, especially employees that psychosocial safety. Okay, so our project deliverables are our activities and objectives that are required by leaders for a diverse, inclusive workforce. So our inclusion and diversity policy, a comprehensive policy that outlines the organization's commitment to inclusion and diversity, as well as specific steps the organization will take to promote these values. Our training and education, develop and deliver training and education materials to employees and managers to raise awareness and understanding of the importance of inclusion in the workplace. For our recruitment and hiring, to develop and implement inclusive hiring practices to attract and retain a more diverse workforce. This could be having unbiased language in the job description. It might be showing that you're very open through social media to diverse employees. You might have a website. You implement these inclusive practices there. And for employee engagement, establish employee engagement initiatives to encourage open dialogue and feedback on inclusion and diversity in the workplace. So you kind of want to create an atmosphere of open talking, open feedback, that they're not afraid to go to a manager on an issue or for a certain question. It might be helpful to have like a resource center of they could ask these questions and to have someone who's open and willing to answer the questions. Okay, and for metrics and tracking, establish metrics and tracking mechanism to measure the effectiveness of inclusion initiatives. So this is quite important for your shareholders, and as well, more importantly, I suppose, to see how far you've gone from one step to another, to so you can see the change process that has happened, like how far have you come, or potentially maybe not how far you haven't come, maybe there's more to do. And with these metrics, you'll be able to measure and actually have a quantifiable data to show what you're progressing in and what you might not be progressing and what needs work to be done. Okay, so our project timeline for leaders going through organizational change in the aspect of diversity will be through phase 1, which is planning and preparation, between month 1 and month 2. This is where you develop a project plan like this. Obviously, we're supporting you in this, and you need to figure out the scope of the project. So how far will this be? You need to gather your data. You need to find how many employees of misrepresented backgrounds you have, women in the workplace, minority groups, etc. And so this is how you conduct diversity and inclusion assessment of the organization. And then through that, you need to then develop inclusion and diversity policy that fully supports your new organizational change. And for phase 2, training and education between month 3 and 4. So you develop training and education materials, usually this is with HR, conduct training sessions for employees and managers so everybody has an understanding of diversity and equity and all the things that you need for this organizational change. And through this, you'd establish a diversity and inclusion resource centre that may support and benefit your workplace. And so for phase 3 is recruitment and hiring. It's between month 5 to 6. Develop and implement inclusive hiring practices to attract and retain a more diverse workforce. Develop partnerships with diverse communities and organisations, maybe for hiring, maybe with colleges or schools that have a more diverse background. Maybe you can implement a apprenticeship or a TY candidates, and they come out and they have a look. Monitor and track progress in recruitment and hiring. So this is where your metrics and your tracking come back into it, that you need to see who your candidates are, what kind of candidates you are bringing in. Are they of a diverse background? What kind of diverse background they have? Like, are you hitting your targets that you want to hit? And so phase 4 would be employee engagement. It's between months 7 and 8. Establish employee engagement initiatives, establish employee feedback mechanisms so that employees have the want and the will to have the feedback that they want. They're motivated to progress. They're motivated for the workplace to progress. But also this needs to be potentially anonymous, just so employees don't feel pressure to conform to a certain way, that they have to think that they are allowed have their thoughts, and if it does come up, that they are allowed to speak freely of it, and maybe the right education is given to them to then fully understand and for them to progress then in the organisation. So then this, of course, is encourage open dialogue on inclusion and diversity in the workplace. And for phase 5, metrics and tracking, this is between month 9 and 12. So you establish your metrics and your tracking mechanisms to measure the effectiveness of inclusion and diversity initiatives. So you analyse and report on the effectiveness of inclusion and your initiatives. And so this, you can evaluate the success of the project and, of course, identify areas for improvement, which we've already said. So in summary, diversity in the workplace has become a major issue among many companies across the world, not just in Ireland. So leaders play a critical role in guiding subordinates through organisational change. They must communicate effectively, support their teams, and maintain productivity throughout the process. So it's by keeping both management and employees on board. Leaders can help ensure the success of the change and position the organisation for continued growth and success. This inclusion in the workplace project aims to create a more diverse and inclusive workplace that values and respects all employees. By leadership implementing this project plan, we can promote equity, fairness, and respect in the workplace, increase employee engagement and retention, and create a more inclusive hiring process. This project plan, in my opinion, is critical to the success of the FADO organisation and the well-being of your employees. Thank you for listening. I was LKearns with a project plan on diversity, inclusion, equity, and belonging in the workplace of FADO.